Namaste everyone, and welcome to our yoga class for today. I have a lovely hip opening yoga class for you in 20 minutes today. So when you're ready, join me at the base of your mat in a kneeling position, but I want you to make this kneeling position a little bit wider, so with your knees a little bit wide apart, almost mat width apart, big toes are together though. We're just going to begin by grabbing onto our feet and opening through our chest, throwing the head back, pushing into the hips, pushing our belly forward. Take a few breaths here, opening the chest, filling up the lungs. And as we exhale, center ourselves on the mat and set an intention to stretch and relax our body. Inhale, draw your arms up to the sky, and on your exhale, draw your left hand to the right side of the mat. Right arm comes behind you, reaching for the left hip. Drawing your cheek down to the mat here, stretching out the side body to begin with, but also beginning to warm up the hips. Take a few deep breaths here, relaxing in this pose and drawing our heart center down towards the mat. Begin to rise out of that posture, and let's repeat on the other side. So this time reaching over for the left side with the right arm. Left arm comes behind the back, reaching for that right hip. Allow your cheek to gently rest on the mat, opening the side body and the shoulder and stretching out the spine. Beginning to warm up the hips. Breathing deeply with our eyes closed, remembering our intention to relax and stretch out the body and give your body the love and TLC it needs. So just hold for a few more moments, find that breath, find that presence, and then rise out to that pose, arm to the sky, and release the hand. When you're ready, join the knees together and come up into 4-point kneeling tabletop pose. We're going to extend out that right leg, and we're going to draw some big knee circles. So circling round with the knee, just lubricating the hip joint here, taking 5 of these. 2 more. And then make your way back to center. We're going to cross that right leg over top of the left so that the right heel comes over the left knee. Draw your hands forward and sit back onto your heel, or as much as you can. We're really getting into the right glute here and the right hip flexor. Allow your forehead to come down to the mat, melting into the earth. Keep holding and breathing into that stretch in the hip. You can keep the left toes tucked under for more stability if that aids you, or you can stay with the toes untucked and just find whatever feels good. Hold for one more deep cleansing breath here, and then when you're ready, begin to rise out of that posture. And what we're going to do is we're going to keep our legs the same, but we're going to reach back with that left hand for our left heel or left ankle. Reach the right arm overhead, and we're taking a 1-arm camel variation so that we're getting that deep stretch in the hips. So push your hips forward to get that opening. This is also great for the inner thigh and the lower back. Hold for a few more seconds. And then when you're ready, bring that hand back down, come up into tabletop pose and uncross the legs. Let's repeat that short sequence on the other side. So this time on the left leg, let's begin with those hip circles, drawing with the knee, making these nice and big, lubricating that left hip joint. Let's take 2 more nice and slow, make them nice and big. And then come back to center, cross that left leg over top of the right, left heel meets the right knee, then sit back and push into the hips, Open through the left glute this time, left hip, left inner thigh, and just hold, taking a few breaths here with the forehead drawing down to the mat. Slowly rise so that you're balancing on both knees. And this time with the right hand, we're going to reach back for that right ankle. Left arm comes overhead. Push the hips forward, open through the chest. Take the gaze to the sky if that's within your practice. And just breathe into this opening in the hips and the chest. Finding that center and that balance. Find that drishti, that focus point to just keep you nice and balanced. Make sure that this focus point is not moving and that it's something you can easily gaze at to gain your balance from. Hold for just a few more moments, really focus on opening those hips, pushing the pelvis forward, tucking it under. Then come back to center, make your way back into 4-point kneeling, uncross the legs. When you meet me here, we're going to tuck the toes under, exhale and push the hips to the sky, straighten out the legs, push the heels down to the mat, downward facing dog. Take a few deep breaths here, opening the chest cavity, shoulders drop away from the ears, elongate through the neck, push the heels down, open through the back of the legs. Hold for a few more moments. When you're ready, step forward with the right foot between the hands and pivot on your feet so that you face the long edge of your mat. Make sure that you're pigeon toeing the feet, so what that means is that we're bringing the toes slightly inwards, heels slightly outward, and this will just give you a little bit more balance and a deeper stretch in the inner thighs. Grab onto each ankle and draw the crown of the head down to the mat, tailbone to the sky. If you can get the crown of your head all the way to the mat so that you're resting on your head, that would be great. But just stay at whichever level feels good for you. Find a few breaths here, closing your eyes, feeling that deep, elongating stretch in the inner thighs and in the hips. Now make your way up onto your hands. Then when you're ready, we're going to interlace our fingers behind our back, straighten out the arms, and we're going to fold over that right leg to begin with. Nose to knee if you can, feeling that stretch more deeply in the right inner thigh this time. Hold for one more deep breath. And then come back to center, repeat on the left leg, again going into the left inner thigh, the left hip flexor, the left hamstring. Hold for a deep breath here. And then lift up back to center, and we're just going to fold down. Keep those arms behind you, stretching out the chest as we do this. Crown of the head comes down to the mat if that's within your practice, drawing the shoulder blades together. Again, close the eyes, take a few deep breaths here and just center yourself in this pose. Find that drishti and that balance. And then when you're ready, we're going to rise up to standing position, keeping those legs far apart in that straddle pose. Take your hands to the mat. We're going to bend into that left leg and come into Skandasana, a deep side lunge that your hips are coming down to the mat. Inhale, take your right arm to the sky, gaze to the sky, left hand remains grounded on the mat. Pushing into that left leg to get that optimum stretch in the left inner thigh, in the right inner thigh as well, and in the left hip. Just hold this for a few moments, elongate through the side body, through that right side body, elongate through the right leg as well, keeping the right foot flexed. Hold for just one more deep breath here. Then using your hands, push up and make your way onto the other side. So this time we're bending into that right leg. Lift the left arm to the sky, flex the left foot, push into that right leg, opening the hip, the inner thigh on both sides. Take your gaze upwards, twisting through the spine, and feel that nice elongating stretch. Draw the left hand down to the mat, and we're going to push into the left side but not go as deep into the side lunge. Take your right forearm down, left arm to the sky, hold here, twisting towards that left leg this time. This is a kind of counter stretch for our previous stretch on this side. Hold for one more breath. And then when you're ready, let's switch to the other side. So going into that lateral lunge again, but not going as deep, so we're not bringing the hips all the way down. And this time, right arm is in the air, you're facing towards that right knee, that right leg, pushing into the hips, really opening up the left inner thigh this time. Hold for a deep breath, and then come back to center, stand all the way up. Then bringing the feet slightly closer together but the toes still pointed out, we're going to come into a goddess pose. So that we're bending into those knees, place your hands onto the front of the knees, and we're just going to push them away with our hands, stretching out the hips. So this is kind of a standing frog pose, really getting into the inner thighs, using all the pressure in your upper body to push those knees away. This is really great as well for decompressing the spine, keeping your crown of your head pointing forward, spine is nice and straight or as straight as possible. If you want to go really advanced, you can bring that upper body down so that your spine is flat, in line with the hips. Stand up all the way, come to the top of your mat and take your feet about mat width apart. Just going to fold here, taking a slightly wide-legged fold. Then come up onto your hands and slowly draw the hips down to the base of the mat. Not sitting down all the way, so we're coming into our yogic squat. Join your hands over heart center, using those elbows to push the knees away, again going deep into the inner thighs. You can rock from side to side, or maybe even dip one knee down to the mat and then the other to find some mobility, or just stay static, keeping your gaze ahead. Spine is nice and long, elongating through the crown of the head. You want your tailbone to be pointing down as well, so tuck the pelvis under to engage those lower abs and those hips even further. Hold for one more deep breath, and then lower all the way down to come onto your sit bones. Soles of the feet come together, knees come apart in butterfly pose. When you meet me here, you can either stay upright, or placing the hands on the feet, you can fold down, keeping your gaze ahead. Folding from the hips, keeping the back nice and straight, not folding from the lower back. If you want, you can bring your nose all the way down to the mat, or you can stay at a kind of mid-level, still keeping the spine nice and straight, chest pointing ahead. Now with the hands still on the feet, rise up, open through the chest slightly here, hold for a breath. Then release the hands. Keeping the left leg where it is, we're going to lift the right leg, and using our arms to cradle that shin, we're just going to bring that leg parallel to the chest. So the shin is kind of resting on the chest. Just going to rock from side to side here. If you want a deeper stretch, you can straighten out that left leg, flex the foot, flex the right foot as well. You can just stay static if you prefer, but if you're staying static, make sure you're focusing on elongating through the spine. Cradle pose is super intense, but it's amazing for the hips, so just hold for one more deep cleansing breath. And then release that right leg down. And then we're going to begin that on the left leg. So this time, with your hands, using your arms to cradle the shin, draw the shin so that is parallel to the chest again. Flex the left foot. You can join your hands in a prayer position just to make this a little bit deeper of a stretch so that your elbows, the inside of your elbows, are holding on to that leg. Rock from side to side if you'd like to mobilize that hip, or just stay static, focusing on elongating the spine. You can straighten out that right leg as well. Hold for 2 more deep inhales and exhales. Focus on that deep opening in the hip, also in the hamstring and the inner thigh. And then release that leg down. Extend both legs out when you're ready. And then we're going to make our way to the center of our mat, coming into a kneeling position. Take your hands out in front of you, and we're going to come down into our frog pose. Now this is the best hip opening stretch, so what I want you to do is slowly walk your knees apart, sinking your hips down to the mat as much as they will go. We want to make sure that we're creating 2 90-degree angles with our legs, so our ankles are in line with the knees are in line with the hips. You can stay up on your hands, come down onto your forearms, or even bring your chest and your forehead down to the mat. To get a little bit of extra mobility, you can rock backwards and forwards, finding a deeper stretch in the inner thighs. You can just stay static, really finding that deep stretch in the front of the legs. Hold for a few more moments, breathing deeply into the stretch, allowing with each breath to draw the hips a little bit closer towards the ground. Begin to come up onto the hands, and when you're ready, just walk those knees in towards one another. Come to the base of your mat, facing the top of the mat in a kneeling position. Inhale, take your arms to the sky, open through the chest, and exhale, fold into child's pose. Hold for a few deep breaths, relaxing the hips and the legs. They've worked very hard so far, so just going to give them a nice little stretch in child's pose, a time to relax. Then come forward, tabletop, tuck the toes under, downward facing dog. Stretch out the hamstrings and the calves, hold for a breath. Then hop to the top of your mat and land in a seated position. When you meet me here, take your legs out in front of you, bending them so the knees are pointing to the sky, and then fold down into a reclined position, hug the knees into the chest. Hold here for a moment, opening up the hips, opening up the back of the legs. And then when you're ready, we're going to extend the legs up to the sky, interlace your peace fingers around your big toes, draw the legs apart, and we're going to come into a reclined straddle pose. So drawing the legs as far away from one another as possible, really pulling down with the hands so that you're going past that flexibility boundary and finding an even deeper stretch in the hips and in the inner thighs. You can rock from side to side to gain a little bit of mobility, or just stay static, focusing on pulling those feet down to the mat. Then bending your legs and pointing the soles of the feet to the sky, come into happy baby pose. Again, you can rock from side to side here, or just focus on that stretch in the hamstring and the hips. Hold for a few more seconds. Find that deep stretch, pulling the knees down as close to the mat as possible, feeling that opening. Then draw the feet together, extend the legs to the sky, hold for a breath, feel that stretch. Then draw the feet together, soles of the feet together, knees apart, and allow the legs to come down to the mat, coming into Supta Baddha Konasana, reclined butterfly. Palms facing up, hands resting on the thighs. Close your eyes and just take a few moments to ground yourself. This is a great stretch for the hips, but it should feel nice and easy, nice and relaxing, because we've already stretched out the hips, so all that tension should have melted away. And if not, just bring your attention to your hips and use your cleansing deep breaths to allow that tension to just melt away. Greet that tension and acknowledge it, and make sure you treat your hips with care for the rest of the day. Just know that you can use your mind to control your body and always come back to your breathing wherever you are in the world. Hold for a few more deep inhales and exhales, finding and feeling the rise and fall of the chest or the belly. Keep your eyes closed. Keep your mind nice and still. Just focus on your body, focus on your present awareness. Slowly draw the knees together, reach the arms over the head, draw the knees into the chest. Then hug your knees in and rock up to a seated position on your sit bones, joining me in the center of our mat. Take a few deep cleansing breaths just to end the practice, hands over heart center in a prayer position. Feel the rise and fall of the chest again. Feel that release of tension. And then when you're ready, I'd like you to join me in saying Namaste to end the practice and bow down to yourself, thanking yourself for your beautiful yoga. Namaste.